Trying to share my screen. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time this morning. This is Poonam Guptaa. I'm here to spend some time with you and hope that it gives you some clarity around your own works and how you approach that. So this is about my book. The title is Varna, Know Your Why. An evolutionary approach to organizational and individual transformation. So, I am supposed to tell you about my book. Instead, I want to tell you why I had to write this book. My own life has had several very different chapters. I started as a middle school teacher, then I became a research scientist, then an entrepreneur, and later a social entrepreneur. There were good things in every of those chapters. I learned, I contributed, I achieved. But somewhere underneath, I repeatedly had this feeling that says something is missing. I couldn't even name it, what it was. And when I began taking to other people, I realized this was not just my question. So I went ahead formally interviewing very successful leaders in their fields, in different professions. I kept hearing this underlying feeling that was the same background sound, something does not fit in, I wouldn't say, but it's more like, hey, there could be more of it. And what is that it was hardly ever clear. People tried to give it a name. An interesting incident I just remembered is that one senior technology leader of a major hospital systems told me that something stayed with me. He said, I have been hired many times, but the best things have mostly came from the things that I did that I was not hired for. Talk about misalignment. But if some of the best work comes from the, what you're not hired for, that means you are not hired for the right thing, right? And that's what we are trying to answer that. That question eventually became Varna, know your why, and Varna CQ. We'll go about it and talk about what is it and how we can be benefited. So it was very clear from talking to these leaders that it's not the capability, it's not the commitment, it's not the intention that was missing piece. It was the clarity issue. And clarity changes how we lead, how we work together, and the impact that we create. When we say clarity, clarity about what? So what happens is we often assume that when performance or satisfaction drops or is not up to the point, there's a lack of either skills, commitment, or fit. But if the person is capable and committed and is still misaligned, that is a very different problem. So the issue may not be capability and the commitment, it could be alignment. And to back up my thought process is that every year corporations invest billions of dollars in hiring, in leadership training, in management training, in behavior training, in mental well-being, and a lot more. But the issue of employee engagement across the industry, across the world, it stays somewhere between 20 to 25%. And it contributes to a loss of, I think I read the last figure was $10 trillion economic loss per year. Annually, over $10 trillion is the cost of unengaged employees around the world. And it's very researched, published data. Guess how much of that loss we are contributing, and your employee and your team is contributing in those loss too. So as I said, the issue may not be capability, it may be alignment. And this question took on the journey that I was not, expecting in the beginning. So over 6 years of research and testing led me to find out an answer when I studied through psychology, leadership, organizational behavior, human motivation. And then I went much further into Indian knowledge system. Understand, I have myself 25 years of corporate, the business experience, a very successful one as well, I might add. So the work that I have done for 6 years of concentrated was actually going on in the background for much longer. So the ancient question was not simply what job should this person do? It was, what is the person's natural makeup? What tendencies repeatedly show up? What kind of environment allows those tendencies to become useful than frustrating? In the language of my book, each of us carries deeply ingrained natural tendencies and natural patterns that shapes how we perceive, process, and act. That understanding changes everything. So Varna CQ, it's a whole platform. It's patent pending right now, but you can look at it, varnacq.com, and take an assessment and see for yourself. It makes those patterns visible, bringing clarity before you take action, before you promote somebody in your team, before you change the roles of your team. And that is where the value comes in of the alignment with how this person changes. So the framework that grew from this research is multidimensional. Nobody is one little box. But today I want to make just one part of it very simple so that we can understand. So think of any task. It's your imagination at play right now. So the same task and put 4 people. It could be similar education, similar background, similar experience, similar, you name it, right? And put it in front of them, the same task, same problem, maybe even similar timelines. But watch what happens. One person says, wait, let me understand the pattern first. They analyze, they make sense of complexity. They often see something everybody else misses. Right? Another one says, okay, what are we going to do about it? They are comfortable making the call, setting direction, creating boundaries, and moving people forward. The same task. The third immediately starts thinking, how can we build this? They prototype, create, and turn visibility into something tangible. Another person is already noticing, if we do this, how will it actually work every day? They stabilize, create reliability, make handoff works, and make sure the systems does not collapse after the existing meeting ends. Now, when you have a task, you have a 1 person or 4 person or 40 people. If it is happening randomly without the clarity of what this task or job requires and what kind of team would be the best suited, you are gonna have the random results. Meaning, if the type of natural tendency does not match with what results we want, the person or persons will be putting more effort. I call it energy leakage, getting burned out to complete this task, or getting frustrated with miscommunication because different people are thinking differently and nobody has an x-ray machine of how that person is processing and the information and executing. So now we go at the mercy of trial and error. And then when we put in training, check-ins, more tools, that changes nothing. And that's how we see the engagement stays low. So notice that the 4 examples I took, these are all forms of intelligence, all forms of contributions. None is higher, none is lower, none is right, none is wrong. They are different. Every person is a blend, not a box. The mistake is not that these people are different. The mistake is expecting them to contribute in exactly the same way. And that's what happens when a leader has a team. Often they rely on their experience. Obviously, they might have 15, 20, 25 years of experience and they know what works and what not. But at the same time, the team may not be the same. So the team is forced to follow how the leader thinks or executes. And that's where the friction comes, right? So capability is not the same as alignment. And job description and natural contributions are not always the same thing. I want to take a minute to share this with you because there might be some people with the same question. At this point, people often ask me, Poonam, how is it different from all the assessments we have? I mean, I have been pushed back saying, in my career of so many years, I have gone through every assessment that is out there. I know them all. With due regards, all of them are doing their job and they're doing a good job. All the strength finder, MBTs, and whole lot of other assessment, nothing against them, they are doing a good job. However, there is this important question that I want to bring it to you. Personality assessments can help us understand how someone tend to behave. Strength assessment help identify what someone is good at. Competence and skills assessment tell us what someone is capable of doing. All of this can be very useful. Nothing against them. But if we have a toothache and we find the best knee pain medicine, it's not going to work, right? So, in the same way, the question I am trying to answer is different. How does this person naturally perceive, process, decides, create, no matter what is the outer circumstances are? And we are going to go into the case study in a little bit to look at it a little bit more deeply. So these natural tendencies often are only influenced by all kinds of outer influences, educations, and training. And we don't know why we are always busy, losing energy. And have you ever noticed that when you do something that you really enjoy, there is no applause, there is nobody is giving you any credit, but it feels good, feels satisfying? That's your natural lane that you might not be using it. Anyway, so because this being good at something does not always mean it is where you naturally belong. And behaving a certain way does not necessarily explain what is underneath that behavior. Varna looks at the deeper pattern of contribution and then asks whether that pattern is aligned with the role, environment, and work. So this is not another label. It is a different layer of information. I hope that makes sense. So you will say, why now? And that's a very interesting question. We have already established that, you know, the disengagement around the world cost world economy upwards of $10 trillion annually. Now comes AI on top of it. So whatever was not working, now we have something that will expedite it. So AI does not automatically brings alignment. It exposes alignment and misalignment. So what was not working, your 20% of the team or 20% of your energies or 20% of your own work was getting done. Now that 20% also means 80% was not getting done. And now if you expedite it, now you have a bigger gap. So it's a more of an urgency than anything else. And that's why we see AI adoption's biggest problem today is the human element. So, as I said, question of the future is not only what can this person do? It may increasingly becoming what this person is naturally contribute when the task itself keeps changing. The job market and the type of work and the corporate structure is changing much faster. I'm sure you agree with that. But what does not change is what is your core competency. So that once you're aware of it, you can more effectively use that for anything that you are doing, right? So AI can accelerate capability, but AI cannot automatically give a human being a clarity about where they create their most meaningful value. In fact, the more technology changes what we do, the more important it becomes to understand how we naturally contribute. Because when the task changes, your title may change, your tools may change, but that deeper pattern often keeps showing up itself. And randomly approaching that can only creates more trouble for a person and for an organization. Let me give you an example. Uh, hmm. There is an exercise. Actually, my book is filled with a lot of exercise. So we'll before we go give the case study. Let me walk you through a little mental exercise. If you have a pen and paper available, I use that. If not, then just go ahead and just mentally think of it. We'll think of only past 2 to 3 weeks. Don't struggle too much. Whatever pops up in your mind, we'll talk about that, right? think of think of a time when you did something, any small effort that you probably take it for granted is giving the results that are really not you never thought much of it. So in other words, where did a relatively small effort from you created a disproportionately large result? Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know that. Let's take an example. So maybe you said one sentence and suddenly the room understood. Maybe you made one decision and a week of confusion disappeared. Let's say um, maybe you built a quick prototype and everybody could finally see the idea. Maybe you created a checklist or process and suddenly the mistakes stopped or reduced. Do not dismiss those moments because they felt easy to you. Easy to you does not mean easy to everybody. And that's a mistake almost all of us make. So now that's point one. Let's look at the point two. What kind of work gives you a quiet confidence? Meaning there is no applause. Nobody is praising you for any of that. The work where you finish and think, yes, that was mine. You feel clearer than depleted. Now let's put the point number three. What reliably drains you? So we do all kinds of work, right? So there are certain things that sits on our table and it's like, okay, I'll have to get back to you. And we push it as much as we can, right? That's what is called drain. Even when you successfully complete it, you feel like, whew, I need some time off. I need to breathe. Okay. It could be anything. It could be anything, say, okay, the proposal is done. Now I have to review the pricing. And you are not a pricing person. And you get it done because it has to be done and it has to be accurately done. But it drains you like, oh, no. That's what I meant. Put that down. This one is important because we often confuse I am good at this with this is what I should build my life around. We get good at something because we have done it so many times. But if you change the job or type of things or any change, that completely throws us out. So if you build your life around what you are good at without knowing what is my comfort lane, those are not actually the same things. Now complete one sentence. You see that on the screen. I am at my best when, fill in the blank. Your natural contribution often appears in small efforts, creates big results and quiet confidence. Do not make it impressive. You're not showing anybody. Make it true to you. Maybe I am at my best when I make complexity understandable, or when I make a difficult call, or when I build something from nothing, or when I make systems work. It could be anything. Just finish the sentence and you will see some changes. That sentence is not your complete Varna, but it is very good place to begin noticing your natural lane. You can take actually the Varna assessment at varnacq.com, and you will be amazed that the clarity happens in maybe 15-20 minutes that you have spent with assessment. And not only that, there is a whole system that not only maps who you are, it also takes you where you are and where you want to go and what small tweaks you can do to find your lane at whatever current job you have. Okay, here's a case study of, I call him young man of 90 plus, suburbs of Chicago. He's still flying around the world consulting, driving, contributing, raising funds for the projects he's doing. Dr. Prakasham Tata. Out of a lot of people that I interviewed, he's one of them. His interview is also a part of the book, Varna, Know Your Why. So let me show you what I mean by life continue to align and what happens when the life is aligned, right? At the age when people say, I am retired, I have done enough, I can just travel around or read a book or spend time with the friends, or some oftentimes just really drift around. But Dr. Prakasham Tata is an environmental scientist, a retired professor. By traditional measures, he had already had succeeded a respected scientific career, recognition, professional accomplishment. He could have simply said, I have done my work. But something else happened. The scientist did not disappear. His natural contribution evolved in expression. He began directing that same scientific rigor toward community services, dialysis access, cancer screening, water treatment, recycling, education, through his not-for-profit, Bharti Tirtha. And what fascinated me was this: he did not become completely different person throughout. He re-aimed what was already there because he realized his strength, not his strength, his patterns, his Varna very clearly. He began directing that same scientific rigor towards community services through other means. The system mind remained that as a scientist he always had. The discipline remained. The ability to solve practical problems remained. But now it was being expressed through a different season of life and a different form of service. When we are doing the aligned work, our life, our health, physical and mental, our family, our society, our community, all benefit from that. In the book, I describe this very simply. The scientist had not retired. He had re-aimed. That is why I like the phrase on this slide, people do not retire from purpose. They evolve into it. Knowing your why does not mean discovering one perfect job and doing it forever. That's not what I said. Your job can change. Your life stage can change. The expression can change too. But when you recognize the underlying pattern, you can make those changes with a much greater clarity. And here's an example of Dr. Prakasham Tata. Actually, he's not the only one that I'm just blown away with the interviews that I had. It's just awesome. So I sum it all. That became my mantra too. And one decision made with a clarity can change the trajectory of your life. My wish and desire is that Varna know your why, an evolutionary approach to organizational and individual transformation, can help you find your Varna, your why. There is an opportunity for my viewers of this video to scan this QR code for a chance to win a physical copy of my book. We have draws, I think, almost every week. And we do appreciate your few minutes to answer a couple of simple questions. And we draw, and the lucky people get the copy for free. It's my gift. It's not free. It's complimentary to wish you well. Obviously, you can always buy it from Amazon and a whole bunch of other platforms. You can just look up my name, Poonam Guptaa, or the name of the book, Varna Know Your Why. You'll be there. So thank you for your time and wish you well for your journey towards alignment and a better life forever. Thank you.